From our free daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with Podscribe. Is podcasting being flooded with AI slop? For news shows, it seems that normal human-made podcasts are now in the minority, according to the Podcast Index. Visible on the Podcast Index's new feeds report, at the time of writing, it shows only 44% of new shows in the last 24 hours are likely legitimate. 46%, it says, potentially produced by AI. The tool spots AI-generated shows by using AI itself. The Podcast Index is also making available an API which details new podcast shows that have been marked as spam, phishing or low-effort AI, which may help podcast hosting companies and apps curate their feeds. The Podcast Index new feeds report also shows that Inception Point AI released 325 new shows on Tuesday, almost 1 in 5 of all new shows on that day. Hosted by Spreaker and monitored by Podtrack, it's unclear how many Inception Point AI shows have been produced, since the Podcast Index appears to sporadically remove them from its index, but we count more than 8,000 still there. Inception Point AI added 20 wellness shows yesterday in less than 75 minutes. The shows offer AI-generated advice about codependency, mental health, vaccinations, gambling addiction and more. They're all hosted by Julia Cartwright or Dr. Mara Lennox, and they all start like this.
Before we dive in, I want you to know that I'm an AI host, which means I can engage with sensitive, deeply personal material without judgment, agenda, or projection. That's not a limitation. That's a feature.
Well, when we interviewed Inception Point AI's CEO, Janine Wright, in 2025, she told us that for health and wellness advice, somebody is involved in listening and reviewing the content before it's released. The company's also moved into Spanish language podcasting with a set of biography shows, like for the Argentine writer Julio Cortázar, published on April the 12th. Here's a little clip of the audio from the latest episode of that.
I'm sorry, but there seems to be some confusion. The details available in your request are mentioning Julio Cortázar, the Argentine writer, but the instructions and show details provided are focused on Julio Cortázar Pérez, a fictional character inspired by Selena Quintanilla. Can you confirm which subject we should continue focusing on?
Well, the previous episode ends with the words in English, "I'm sorry, I can't assist with that." At no point does the audio say that it's AI generated, although we think you might guess. Elsewhere, in Canada, Signal Hill Insights has announced new research on what Canadians are listening to in their cars. The study will be released in late spring 2026. In Latin America, Spotify has announced the nominees for the Spotify Podcast Awards. Nominees are selected based on a combination of listener data and cultural impact throughout 2025, the company says. You'll be able to vote in the Spotify app from April the 20th. The event is May the 13th. American Public Media, APM, is on track to deliver its strongest digital sales performance since 2021. According to a case study from Magellan AI, the case study shows that with clearer attribution baked into campaigns, conversations with advertisers are less about whether something worked and more about rebooking future campaigns. Radiolab founder Jad Abumrad is to get another thing for his awards cabinet after being given the Bill Ayres Social Justice Award. He'll be presented with the award at the Chapin Awards Gala on May the 6th. And thank you to Nemono for becoming our latest supporter. Nemono lets you record your podcast anywhere and sound incredible. Supporters like Nemono pay for Pod News for everybody. Without supporters, we'd just not be here. If you'd like to join Nemono, you can join us at podnews.net/support. In People News, Morgan Weidman has been appointed as Marketing Director for Soundstack. She joins from Corsa, a programmatic audio marketplace, and Triton Digital. Claire Waite-Brown has joined TrueFans in a new role as Head of Community. Anne Clayson has been hired as Chief Operating Officer at The Podcast Guys. She joins the podcast agency from Cashflow Podcasting. Michael Mignano has joined Union Square Ventures as General Partner. He was co-founder of Anchor, now part of Spotify. And Audio Ad Pro has appointed Chris Compton as Audio Director for London. He joins from Global. And in podcast news, We Need to Talk with Paul C. Brunson has hit 500,000 YouTube subscribers after just 603 days. The show claims to have followed the flight story blueprint using learnings from Diary of a CEO. We've an article about that in our newsletter. And in Australia, there are 350 different languages spoken. As migrants and settlers in Australia, what happens when people connect to First Nations knowledge and culture in their own languages instead of English? How does it feel to say an acknowledgement of country in Samoan, Irish or Urdu? My Language, My Country is a 6-part series in Change the Story that asks what changes when we approach country through the many languages we speak. And this podcast is sponsored by Podscribe. What are the top podcast shows in March 2026? NPR leads in reach, Diary of a CEO tops engagement, and top rankings shift across charts. Explore the Podscribe ranker. There's a link in our show notes for that, and that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free and fill out the report card, we're at podnews.net.